Part 2 of Lesson 7-1 of Geometry. I'm not sure when the recording stopped. It only records like 20 minutes at a time. Okay, so let's look over to this young man in this vehicle. And they get many lectures from Sister Kilman about driving safely, right? The percent of driving age teens, ages 15 to 20, with their own vehicles nearly doubled nationwide from 22% in 1985 to 42% in 2003. So that's an estimate. It's not exactly doubled, but so instead of, just borrowing your parents' car, some of these people are having their own. Okay. Fernando conducted a survey of 50 students driving to school and found that 28 owned cars. If 755 students drive to his school, predict the total number of students who own cars. Okay, so 750 students drive to school, and he conducted a survey of 50. 28 out of the 50 owned cars, right? So if that proportion holds true, then we could say 28 is to 50 as X, the number of students owning cars, is to 755, because those are the total students driving to school. So if this proportion holds true, then the same proportionate amount would actually own cars of the students driving. Did you follow that a little bit, hopefully? Okay, so then we can cross multiply the extremes and the means. Now to remember, this helps me remember which one's which. Okay, upper left, because we read left to right, and we usually start at the top of the page. So upper left to lower right, E comes first in the alphabet. So extreme is first. So extremes and then the means. Does that help? Okay, it helps me anyway. So they multiply the extremes. 28 times 755 equals the means, 50 times x. So then we're just going to multiply, and then here divide by 50, and approximately 422.8 students drive or own their cars of the 755. Okay, that portion. And we know that because this is of the 50 students driving to school, 28 of them own cars. So of the total 755 students that drove to school, X amount own cars. So we just use that as to solve. Now, we cannot have a part of a person, right? So it says, based on Fernando's survey, about, and you have to say about 423 students at his school own cars, because not exactly 423 own cars, right? Okay. I mean, it could be, but we're not for sure. This is a proportion. It's not an exact science. Okay, let me see how far. Okay. Now, I'm going to go on because I want to make sure that we get through everything, and there's just a little bit right here left, and I want to make sure that your key concept is down on your paper. Okay, the proportion shown in example 4 is not only correct proportion for that situation, equivalent forms of a proportion all have identical cross product. So, as long as you're making a true statement with these proportions, the cross products will bear you the same answer in the end. Okay? So if we did A is to B as C is to D, we could flip A and B as long as we flip C and D, because the cross products here would be B times C, which is fine, A times D for the means. So the extremes and the means could switch there. Now, you could also say A is to C as B is to D, and C is to A as D is to B. It's kind of a lot of stuff, but as long as you're making a true statement. So what you compare at the top needs to be compared, be in the same order for the other side. Let's look at this. So we had, let me try to get it a little closer so it can be more legible to you that are watching. Okay, So before we had 28 students of the 50 that he surveyed, driving students, is to, here's how many students own their cars. 28 owned them out of the 50 driving. How many students own them out of the 755 driving? See how both of these are the students that are driving, and both of these are the proportion of the students that own their cars. Now, in the next one, instead of putting how many own their cars, they put the total on top. So that 50 is the total number of students driving that he surveyed out of how many students own their cars. Total number of students driving to his school out of the X represented the amount of students that own their cars that are driving. So as long as you're doing the same thing across, you're going to be fine. Here, we're doing 28 students own their cars to how many students own their cars of the survey out of the total population of driving. So here, the 50 is the surveyed population versus the total population driving. So you're being consistent in how you're setting it up. And then this one is just the same one flipped on both sides. You're going to end up getting the same answer no matter which way you do it there. Okay, thank you for listening. Give me a call if you need help. And have a lovely day.